Tonight on First at 9 this Saturday the 7th of September 2024. Warned. Any attempt to revisit Sri Lanka's debt sustainability assessment can derail the ongoing IMF bailout program, says the Finance Ministry. Race to the top. Presidential candidates express their opinions and promises to the public ahead of the election. Strikes of death. Israeli strikes in Gaza kill 61 in 48 hours as UN pursues vaccinations. Long awaited. Trinity College Kandy claims the 78th Bradby Shield after 10 years by defeating Royal College Colombo.
ඔබේ විශ්වාසය දෙනු සෙන්සුරයින් දැන් ළඟමැති ෆාමසියෙන් ලබාගත හැක.
From Derana, this is Derana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to Derana First at 9. I'm Aditya Dirsinger joining you live with the latest in Sri Lanka and around the world. Now taking you straight to your top story this evening, the Minister of Finance says that any attempt to revisit Sri Lanka's debt sustainability assessment can derail the ongoing program with the International Monetary Fund. In a statement, the Finance Minister claims that a standoff in such a scenario would only delay an agreement on a financing program for several months, if not years. The statement further noted that the IMF cannot proceed with a financing program if a country's debt is deemed unsustainable. While highlighting that the IMF rules do not allow the country to lend to other countries deemed to have unsustainable debt levels, the Minister of Finance claims that Sri Lanka commenced the process of restructuring its debt parallel to negotiating the macroeconomic reform program with the IMF. Issuing a statement, the Minister of Finance added that Sri Lanka has committed to ensuring that all agreements that Sri Lanka enters into with various creditors will enable public debt sustainability to be restored as assessed by the IMF. The Minister of Finance noted that Sri Lanka's debt sustainability is assessed in the context of the IMF's market access sovereign risk and debt sustainability framework, which is applied to all middle-income economies undergoing debt restructuring. According to the IMF, the mechanical signals for the medium-term and long-term debt sustainability indicate high risk for Sri Lanka due to vulnerabilities to shocks and structural issues such as an aging population and climate risks. The Finance Ministry is of the view that the market access sovereign risk and debt sustainability framework model are not open for negotiation and added that the projections of the model are updated regularly, particularly at the IMF program reviews that happen every 6 months. Further, the ministry stated that the debt restructuring targets in particular, once designed, become stable parameters and cannot be changed unless there is evidence of a significant change in circumstances that make the targets unviable. Whilst the market access sovereign risk and debt sustainability framework model has little flexibility, the Minister of Finance noted that the technical elements of the DSA have been abundantly discussed and negotiated between the Sri Lankan authorities, Sri Lanka's appointed debt advisors and the IMF during the program design. It includes aspects including the exact perimeter of public debt, the refinancing assumptions, and the cost of recapitalizing the banking sector. From the outset of Sri Lanka's debt restructuring process in June 2022, Sri Lanka prepared its own DSA modelling to inform its negotiating strategy. The Finance Ministry added that this was done with the assistance of the country's debt advisors and is regularly reconciled with the IMF staff team based on IMF program reviews and other updates. The ministry stated that Sri Lanka uses its own DSM modelling to design offers made to various creditors and to assess the proposals received from creditors to ensure that terms being discussed are compatible with the IMF DSA constraints. Similarly, Sri Lanka's creditors in most cases formulate their own DSA modelling to inform their negotiating positions. Whenever Sri Lanka reaches agreements in principle on restructuring terms with a particular group of creditors, the IMF is called upon to confirm, as the independent actor, that the negotiated terms indeed provide the required debt relief in order to comply with the debt targets, and added that in doing so, the IMF may use its own judgment in addition to the mechanism outcome to render its assessment. The ministry noted that any country can of course stand its ground and refuse to move forward based on the IMF's DSA if it disagrees with the outcomes of the model and the IMF's assessment. It stated that the IMF would simply not be able to proceed with the financing program given its inability to lend to countries with debt deemed unsustainable, and added that such a standoff would only serve to delay an agreement on the financing program for several months, if not years.
Horizon Campus 2024 Intake 2. Register now.
Crunchy goodness for hunger on the go.
කවුද ඔයා මෙච්චර ලස්සන්ට වෙනස් කළේ?
වෙනස් මනුස්සෙක්.
දිලිත් වෙනස් මනුස්සෙක්. රටක් වෙනස් කරන්නට තරුවෙන්.
Now, President Ranil Wickremesinghe asserts that those who cannot speak about the country's future have no right to lead it. Drawing attention to the NPP's manifesto at an event yesterday, President Wickremesinghe claims that the NPP has not presented any proposals to lead the country forward towards prosperity. Furthermore, the president reiterated on the country's need to meticulously abide by the conditions outlined in the agreement it signed with the IMF. The Banking and Finance Forum, organized by the National Bankers Association, was held last evening in Colombo under the patronage of President Ranil Wickremesinghe.
අපිට යන්න තියෙන්නේ IMF සංවිධානය සමග පැමුණන ණය තිරසාර.
Sri Lanka signed an agreement with the IMF to ensure national debt sustainability. We must restrict ourselves to the terms and conditions outlined therein. Any government that comes into power must stick to this framework. No matter how many governments come to power, they must all strictly abide those conditions. Some candidates pledge to reduce taxes after assuming the president's office. We must decide whether or not we are going to proceed as such. That being, the country will face another crisis. Some say that they will cut down taxes. If they do that, they will enter the same vicious cycle. A tax cut is not the answer. The IMF emphasized on the need for tax reforms. As it is customary, we submitted one proposal while the IMF presented a proposal from their end as well. We must discuss those proposals and decide how we are going to move forward. However, it is imperative that we strengthen the rupee. That is the only way for us to escape our current plight. There is no other way, despite whatever anyone else may say. Our government has all the tools necessary to develop the nation. If needed, we can put those tools to use from the 22nd onwards. No one else has those tools. To implement those measures, we will need about a year. Pulwan Sri Lanka is a program which will be implemented from the 22nd of September. I do not want to repeat the traditional political slogans. In addition, we have two other alternative proposals. Blueprint 3.0 is one of those alternative proposals. Blueprint 3 focuses on the country's economy. On the other hand, the MPP wants to spread fear. The NPP claims that they are only one alternative to the corrupt system of politics that engulfed the country since independence. However, in their 232-page manifesto they released, they present no proposals. They claim that not treating local and international investors equally is unconstitutional. It is a complete mess. Can we take the country forward with such attitudes? Is that the change they talk about? I requested Anura Kumara to elaborate on his claims. We can't play with politics like this. The pressing concerns of this nation will not be answered by blabbering in rallies and then publishing a 232-page manifesto. If someone cannot speak about the country's future, then that person has no right to lead it.
රටේ අනාගතය ගැන කතා කරන්න බැරි නම් රටේ අනාගතය බාර ගන්න අයිතියක්.
Now, opposition leader and presidential candidate of the Samagi Janasandhane, Sajith Premadasa, says a golden era with zero tolerance for corruption will commence following his election to the office of the country's presidency. Addressing an election campaign rally in Colombo, Premadasa said that the development programs of his government will prioritize the youth and the women of the country. An election rally to support the presidential candidate of the Samagi Janasandhane, opposition leader Sajith Premadasa, was held in Humagama last evening.
The Sinhalese living in the rural areas support Sajith Premadasa. Tamils in the north and also those living in the central hills are with Sajith. Muslims in the east are with Sajith. The country's poor also support Sajith. That is why both Ranil and Anura contemplate so much about defeating Sajith Premadasa.
The court ordered the arrest of a key figure in Anura Kumara Disanayaka's team. That is how good that team is. Anura's team members expressed contradictory views. Through the blueprint, we presented a detailed analysis on how we are going to develop this country. Ranil Wickremesinghe says that Sajith Premadasa has two separate programs. He asks us what the correct one is. Ranil Wickremesinghe should read and understand that the blueprint consists of a detailed analysis of the party's original manifesto.
Ranil Wickremesinghe, Anura Kumar Disanayaka.
The common name of both Ranil Wickremesinghe and Anura Kumar Disanayaka is to somehow defeat me. The common name of my team and myself is to resurrect this collapsed country and to spread prosperity island-wide. Considering Ranil Wickremesinghe and Anura Kumar Disanayaka, one cannot emphasize with the people while the other is a part of a long legacy of arson and mass murder. The Rajapaksas have already destroyed this country. Those who are engaged in arson and murder cannot resurrect this nation. We will resurrect this collapsed nation. We will completely eradicate fraud and corruption. We will create a golden era of development with zero tolerance for corruption from the 21st of September onwards. We will prioritize the youth in this country. We will ensure that the women of this country, who make up 52% of it, are provided with the best. Please do not be deceived. Join us. On the 21st of September, we will establish the era of the common man.
Now moving back to some news surrounding the president, independent presidential candidate President Ranil Wickremesinghe invited the people to unite with him to ensure the development of the country, which will ultimately lead towards economic stability. Addressing a rally today, the head of state highlighted that this time there will be no opportunity to gain votes by scaring off the people and condemned such acts committed by certain presidential candidates.
An election campaign rally themed Puluwan Sri Lanka, pledging support to President Ranil Wickremesinghe, was held in Jaffna this evening.
Some political leaders saw the people in Jaffna as terrorists. However, Ranil Wickremesinghe never viewed that community as such. That is why the president granted land rights to all of you through the Urumeya initiative. However, unlike other candidates, President Ranil Wickremesinghe does not provide any false assurances ahead of the presidential election. He is more concerned about the country than his own party. He is the best candidate to lead this country.
I have come here to secure your vote. MPPs Anura Kumar also paid a visit to Jaffna to seek support from the Tamil community. If the people of the south have prepared for a transformation and you intervene, what will the southerners think of the northerners? Would you like to be considered as a community that stood in their way? I'm confident that I will win the presidential election. All of you should be a part of my success. Do not become those who are responsible for my defeat. Anura Kumar threatened the people of Jaffna. However, I condemn that conduct. In 2010, we arrived in Jaffna requesting support for Field Marshal Sarath Fonseca in the presidential elections. The people of the north voted for Field Marshal Fonseca, while the people of the south voted to elect Mahinda Rajapaksa. Did the southern people attack you? No, nothing like that ever occurred. MP Douglas Devananda even took up a ministerial portfolio. In 2019, the people of Jaffna voted for Sajith Premadasa. The Sinhala community voted to elect Gotabaya Rajapaksa. However, after assuming the presidency, Gotabaya did not deploy the army to the north. In all of those circumstances, we accepted the results. Against such a backdrop, how can Anura Kumar Disanayaka threaten you? I can promise you that Anura Kumar Disanayaka will lose this election. He attempts to scare off the people of the south as well as the north, as the JP did in the past. I urge Anura Kumar Disanayaka to apologize to the people in the north. I urge him to apologize to the Sinhala people as well, since he disrespected the Sinhala community. After that, he can be the country's next opposition leader. However, I condemn the manner which he treated these people. He can't intimidate people like that. This time he has no possibility or opportunity to terrify the public and gain votes. Sajith Premadasa cannot compete with Anura Kumar. That makes it futile to vote for Sajith Premadasa. He has been blabbering since the beginning of this election campaign. What purpose does it serve? Our task is to work towards the development of this country. It will pave the way for us to move ahead. Therefore, I request everyone to vote for me on the 21st of September. If not, there would be no development in Sri Lanka.
Leader and the presidential candidate of the National People's Power, Anura Kumar Disanayaka, assures that his party will reinstate the legal principle of equality before the law once elected to the president's office. Addressing a gathering today, Disanayaka pointed out that Sri Lanka's economic and social deterioration is a direct result of the country's inability to establish and uphold the rule of law within the country and express the NPP's commitment to uphold the country's laws. The Lawyers' Conference of the National People's Power was held this morning in Colombo. The event was graced by the leader and presidential candidate of the party, Anurukumara Disanayaka.
Has the current political system valued our vote ever? Have politicians fulfilled their responsibilities after being elected to office? None of the leaders were able to carry out their responsibilities. Sajith Premadasa speaks of rooting out corruption at the moment. What authority does he have to make those claims given the people around him? Similarly, can Ranil Wickremesinghe speak of putting an end to corruption with a corrupt group around him? It is imperative that we overhaul the current system. For the country to develop, the rule of law must be established in the country first and foremost.
Rule of law
An NPP government will revive the principle of equality before the law once elected to the president's office. We will ensure independence to the institutional apparatus in place to uphold the country's law. We have no desire or intention to run the country's judiciary according to our whims and fancies. What standing does our country have internationally? This is a country whose president breaches the constitution and refuses to abide by the decisions of the Supreme Court. In my opinion, Sri Lanka's economic and social deterioration occurred due to its inability to establish the rule of law. At the moment, bribery and corruption have become rights and responsibilities. How can corruption and bribery be rights? How can corruption and bribery be responsibilities? That is why this political culture must change. Some assert that the nation will not be developed by rooting out corruption alone. Yes, we agree. However, without first putting an end to fraud and corruption, there is no point even thinking about developing the nation. All of you here are engaged in a continuous struggle to uphold the virtues of democracy and the rule of law. Your objectives and ours are the same. Presidential candidate of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna Namal Rajapaksa reaffirmed his commitment to continuing the policies of Mahinda Rajapaksa, which according to him have contributed to the country's development since 2005. Addressing a gathering today, Rajapaksa further stated that an SLPP-led government would protect Sri Lankan society, which has a deep connection and a firm connection with the multiple faiths venerated by its people. Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna's Bandaraville electorate meeting pledging support to the party's presidential candidate Namal Rajapaksa was held last evening.
පන්සල ඉස්සරහා රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ ජනාධිපතිවරයාව ගෙනල්ලා ජෝගියක් දැම්මා.
Ranil Wickremesinghe held a rally in Bandaraville recently. Sajith Premadasa is also expected to visit this place within the next few days. The JVP also did the same. They had to bring in busloads of people from across the island to fill up the part of the Bandaraville town. Therefore, it is clear that crowds are not good metrics of success. Namal Rajapaksa's victory in the upcoming presidential election is guaranteed.
මේ මෙතිවරණය ජනාධිපතිවරණය නියත වශයෙන්ම දිනන අපේක්ෂකයා නාමල් රාජපක්ෂ බව ඔබ පැහැදිලිව ලියලා තියාගන්න. එළවලු ගොවියට අල ගොවියට තමන්ගේ නිෂ්පාදනය නගරයට ගේන්න අවශ්‍ය පාර හැදුවේ මහින්ද රාජපක්ෂාන්.
The Mahinda Rajapaksa government constructed the roads for farmers to transport their produce. Before 2005, concrete roads were unheard of. Today, we have the responsibility of continuing former President Mahinda Rajapaksa's policies which developed the country. We have a vision to strengthen the village economy and make farming more profitable. Hardships endured by the people will not be resolved by unrealistic promises made on stage. I believe that we must engage in politics with a fresh vision. Levying an insurmountable tax burden on the people will neither strengthen state coffers nor will it help the people. Our society has a deep connection with our religious beliefs. The government we intend to set up will offer state-sponsored protection to that society.
පීඨවන ආණ්ඩුවක් තුල මම කටයුතු කරනවා කියන එකත් ඔබ තමුන්නාසට මතක් කරන්න.
Star dishwasher Dali Tel Indul Pahasuwen Sede. Star dishwasher magic tub එක.
Crunchy goodness for hunger on the go.
චන්දනසුනේ කාගෙන් මන අපේ සිංහ TV සඳහා සුපිරි ඩීල්.
Welcome back. Now in some more political news, the presidential candidate of the Sarvajana Balai Alliance, Dilip Jayavira, says that wealth creation is the only way the country can come out of the massive debt trap it has fallen into. Taking part in the debate in Colombo, Jayavira assured that the introduction of the unique identification number will tackle corruption in Sri Lanka. The public debate of the presidential candidates contesting the 2024 presidential election, organized by the March 12 movement, was held this afternoon at the BMICH. Presidential candidates Sajith Premadasa, Namal Rajapaksa, Dilip Jayavira and P. Eriyanethan confirmed their participation in the live presidential debate. However, the only candidate to attend the debate was Sarva Jana Balaya's Dilip Jayavira.
We invited 6 candidates for the debate. 4 of them accepted our invitation. We are thankful for Dilip Jayavira, who is present here at the moment. While the debate is ongoing, we expect the arrival of Sajith Premadasa. Namal Rajapaksa informed us that he will attend after Sajith Premadasa arrives. P. Eriyanethan confirmed that he came halfway but had to turn back due to time constraints.
With the organisers expecting the arrival of other candidates, the debate, which was scheduled to commence at 3 p.m, was delayed by 40 minutes. At 3:40 p.m, the debate commenced, with Dilip Jayavira being the only candidate on stage.
IMF givisuma ක්‍රියාත්මක වන සන්දර්භයක ඔබ මේ සඳහා යෝජනා කරන නිශ්චිත ක්‍රියාමාර්ග 3ක් සඳහන් කරන්න පුළුවන්. අපි යෝජනා කරලා තියෙන ශාලිය මෙහිදී
Our view is that it is difficult to save this country from the debt trap without wealth creation. By the time the debt moratorium will conclude in 2028, we need at least $30 billion to pay for the capital and interest of the loans by the beginning of 2029. No one discusses about that. If you do not form a strategic plan to create wealth, the situation will be even worse.
අපි මේ තියෙන තත්ත්වයෙන් ඊටාම තත්වෙනුත් පල්ලෙහාට යනවා. මේ රටේ මහ පරිමාණ දූෂණයයි රාජ්‍ය පාලනයේ දුර්වලතාවය පිළිබඳවයි. ඒ එක් එක් අංශ සඳහා ඔබ ගන්නා නිශ්චිත ක්‍රියාමාර්ග ඔබට දක්වන්න පුළුවන්ද? දැන් අපි මේකට සරල විසඳුමක් දීලා තියෙනවා.
We have given a simple solution to eradicate corruption. We will present a unique identification number that will take the country's internal transactions onto a digital platform that will ensure the transparency of the transactions made by both the people and the institutions. We plan to commence this on the 31st of December and complete this within 6 months. Corruption has not been tackled worldwide by acts. It has been tackled using modern technology. This unique identification number is being used by most of the developed nations. The Modi government of neighbouring India also introduced this. This has to be done immediately.
ඉන්දියාවෙත් මෝඩි රජය විසින් හඳුන්වා දුන්නා. අපි යෝජනා කරන්නේ වහාම මේක කරන්නට ඕන. මේ අද දින පැමිණලා ඉන්න සහ වැඩසටහන බලන් ඉන්න නරඹන අයට කියන්න ඇයි දිලිප් ජයවීරට ඡන්දය දිය යුත්තේ කියලා. මට ඡන්දය දීපු පළවෙනිම කාරණය තමයි
The first reason that you all need to cast your vote for me is the absence of all other candidates to this debate. We have introduced 4 policy manifestos and a strategic plan. I'm the person who is representing that strategic plan. I'm a person who is different compared to all the other candidates. I have the courage to come to a debate like this. On the 21st of September, please cast your vote in front of the symbol star.
ඔබගේ ඡන්දය පාවිච්චි කළා තරුව ඉදිරියේ කතරේ ගහන්න.
This program is sponsored by
දැන් රුපියල් 280ට සිග්නල් ග්‍රෑම් 160ක් ලංකාවේ වාසිම මිලකට තියෙන පැක් එකක්.
Now in your business news, Tanzania has lifted its visa restrictions for Sri Lanka, ending over 20 years of restrictions between the two countries. Sri Lankan High Commissioner to Kenya, Velupille Kananthan, revealed that Sri Lanka is no longer part of Tanzania's visa referral list. According to the High Commissioner, around 450 Sri Lankan businessmen can now apply for standard visas online, along with other travellers such as gem and stone traders. The High Commissioner appreciated the government of Tanzania for creating a positive move to highlight the strong bilateral relationship between the two countries. The High Commissioner also encouraged Sri Lankans to take advantage of this new opportunity while maintaining high standards of conduct abroad. That's all the news we have for you tonight. Thank you. Have a great night.